Det at innsatte får sin egen stemme og får lov til å snakke om hvordan det er å være i fengsel, og temaer som opptar dem, er enormt viktig for deres egen selvfølelse.
Jeg har funnet en mestringsfølelse som jeg aldri har funnet før, som jeg har lyst til å bygge videre på, takket være RøverRadion.
RøverRadion er et ytringsfrihetsprosjekt som går på å gi en stemme til en befolkningsgruppe som aldri har fått den stemmen før. Norge trenger RøverRadion. Norge trenger å vise at det er et demokrati i praksis, og ikke bare på papiret.
Hi everybody, is it my turn now?
Yes, it's your turn. Thanks.
Nice to see everybody, and thank you so much for having me. And Lotte, I was looking forward to this because we had such a good talk the last time we spoke. So, and the prison you saw in the film, we actually arranged a pride parade there this Friday, the world's first prison pride. So it was nerve-wracking, but everything was fine. So at least the first one is done, and the second one will be a bit easier. Well, I want to start off with talking about that in the Norwegian constitution, I can't even speak now, in the Norwegian constitution, paragraph 100, it says that freedom of speech should be facilitated where it may be extra challenging to realize. So I took this law and I put it under my belt, and I started having meetings with the prison authorities. I wanted to break the barriers and get rid of the mystics surrounding people who've broken the law, basically. My goal was to start off in Oslo prison, and that happened in 2012. Now we have editorial staff in 6 maximum security prisons: women prison, youth prison, men's prison. And every week we make a show that is distributed to the prisons, but also published on NRK P2 every week. We are now currently working on a 24-hour radio station for all the prison cells in Norway. So we're going to go from 1 hour a week to 24 hours a day. It's going to be fantastic. Basically, the way you perform in the criminal community becomes your prison identity. Like what you've done tells you how to act when you get to prison, basically. And when you go to live in prison, you don't choose who you live with. The only commonality you might have is that you've broken the law, and that's basically not good enough. I quickly learned that for them to be able to produce a great radio show, the prison face had to go. I mean, it's just annoying. They sit there, their legs out, very, very angry, but they're not really angry. That's not how I see them. So my philosophy is that you can only make great radio content if you show your true and honest personality, and that you permit yourself to be vulnerable. Often in journalism and in media, a lot of people put on a face to seem smarter than they are, maybe, or that they know more than they know. So honesty is a big thing in RøverRadion, and to give people the opportunity to voice their true and reflected opinion on something and see them grow as human beings. So I'm very, 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 very strict. You have to show up on time, which is quite easy when you're in prison because there's a guard who comes with you. But if you're going to stay in your cell and you don't want to come, I'm not going to make a fuss. It's your choice. And if you show up without preparing something, I'm going to send you back to your room because we don't have time for that. We make a show that can compete with any show that's made in Norway. So I always expect a lot. And when it comes to the rascals or røvere, it's very, very important to break the ice quickly, because you can imagine them like sitting there. That, for example, if a rascal is bragging about a criminal offense, oh, I did this, I stuck him in the face or whatever, I always walk up to them And I quickly remind them that they are shitty criminals. Because if they were any good at it, they wouldn't be in prison, basically. And that's when you get, they don't know if they're going to laugh or if they want to slap you. But till now, it's only been laughter. I have 12 years, I haven't been slapped yet, but I probably will someday. We start about talking openly about failures. I share my stories, and shortly after, the rascals open up piece by piece about their criminal bloopers. You can imagine if you're a criminal and that's your job, you're not going to sit there and tell people about the times where you messed it up. But that's what I pull out of them. So being able to laugh at yourself and not be pissed off at somebody if they laugh at what you're telling them, that's essential. That's the beginning of RøverRadion. Be able to laugh at yourself. For example, we had a røver called Sjur, and he told me that he was out walking around and it started raining. And the most natural thing to do is to steal a car because it's raining. So he opens the car and he's taking a cocktail of drugs and he sits there and he's trying to like connect these things, and he falls asleep with his head on the steering wheel on the horn. So the whole street can hear, and he's fast asleep. And this is how he tells me the story. He says, I was sitting there and suddenly this beautiful woman knocked on my window. And I rolled down the window and she told me she wanted to take me home and give me dinner. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to get some tonight. So she told me to wait in the car, and I waited in the car. But then the police showed up instead. And I said, okay, sure. So what have you learned? What did this teach you? He said, you can't trust women. So luckily that opened up a lot of other things. And the year after, he was nominated for Norway's Biggest Talent on radio. But before he could come with us to the show, he died of an overdose. And he was 24 years old. So that's the RøverRadion. It's ups and enormous downs, but you have to be prepared for that or you can't do your job. And some people who are incarcerated have a very long way to go when it comes to dropping their guard and showing their true self and raw self. One of these rascals was Rune. I was told he wanted to join our radio station in Eidsberg prison, which you saw in the beginning of the film. There was actually a picture of him there too. I invited him for an interview and he came straight from his cell and he was acting very aggressively and very animated. Using his outside voice, he told me that he robbed places, that he had a clock to time everything, and like he had this huge plan that he was putting in effect all the time. And he was also in a, let's say, gang environment at the top of the hierarchy. And when he was finished screaming and telling me stuff, I was just looking at him and I said, so man, why are you wearing gloves? We're inside. That's the only thing I could think about. I said, what's the deal with the gloves? And he looks at me like nobody's ever asked this question before. And he says, well, I'm scraping away my fingerprints. Don't you understand? So they're all bloody, so I have to put gloves on. And I laughed. I think I laughed for about 10 minutes at least. I couldn't stop laughing. I know that's probably the dumb thing to do, but I thought it was so crazy. But it has to be said, he never, ever wore those gloves again, ever. So he's been to court for about 2,000 criminal offenses, and he's been convicted 11 times and lived about 10 years of his life in prison, about 30% of his life. So I want to introduce all of you to a very good friend and colleague, Rune, and he got his glasses today, so come on, sit down, though. You look so serious now, my God. Hello. So, Rune, say hi to Scandinavia.
Hello, hello.
No gang signs, okay? When we first met, Rune, I asked you if you were done with your criminal ways and you got really frustrated.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, people ask me this question and like, this is the most stupid question you can ever ask me, like what I'm gonna do what, work in the supermarket? Are you stupid?
Why can't you work in the supermarket?
Because I don't fit in. What I gonna tell them? My stories of the life, like, oh, one time I got this job at the supermarket. I overheard a colleague talked about he sold his car, but he didn't get his payment. For me, I think, oh, easy fix. This might take a way, you know, create a working relationship or something. So the next day I pull up with his car and his money, and I say, no problem. And he was shocked, like really shocked. So
he's been the fixer, we can say, in the environment. But when you said that, what can I do? What am I capable of doing? I said something to you. Do you remember what I said?
Yeah, you said something that my criminal record, all my years in prison is like special education.
Credentials.
So I can use as a
yeah, on your CV or whatever. Like
I can use my life like as a tool to actually help other people. You know, these small words. Like I was like, what the fuck?
But why did those words have such an impact?
Because I never thought this ever. And when you said that thing, also from prison, we started. Me and some other inmates starting throwing the ball. Okay, where can we fit in? And we find like. But the young kids nowadays, it's like a small black hole. No, nobody reaches, you know, but we can reach them. We can go talk straight to them and they feel comfortable talking to us. And like, we get under the skin fast. We find easy if they have problems at home. So what's the problem, what their interests lie. And you can like just pop it there and get them some new interest, some new ambition in life, you know. So.
What do you feel? What was your life like before RøverRadion?
Same old. In, out. Sit in jail, create your new plan, get out. So, but this time this is the first time I went to prison. Actually, something happened to me. The one was I was introduced to the RøverRadion, you know, the radio. Me in the radio, who the fuck thinks, who thought that? You know, this is like, I tell my friends still to this day, 2 years after I come out from prison, I say, I'm not a criminal no more. They lay on the floor laughing, you know, like cramping up and shit. I say, bro, please. Nobody believes it, you know.
But that's because you were so deep in it. I mean, you weren't like a small-time criminal. You were one of the people calling the shots.
I was very active.
Very active. Rune talks often about something called safe violence, but I think that's another lecture, another talk. But what do you think the impact has been of you starting in the RøverRadion in prison? Because I could see you blossom when you interviewed the prime minister or whoever you interviewed. But like, how did it feel? How did it impact?
No, it's like you get some sense of. I like to have a plan. I have to see something go and try to maneuver my way there. And when she was like, okay, like she know the mayor, she know everybody. Like I was like, okay, you have this radio station. I said, okay, I want to interview the mayor. I want to interview this guy. So I already put down a concept with like a program to help the young kids. And so when I interviewed the mayor, so I just put some leading question, you know, to see she burned for this kind of stuff. And she was like enthusiastic and was very interested about this stuff. And after the interview, I just, by the way, look at this project we have.
Yeah, because
so, then it started. So before we get even out from prison, so our little thing we put together was like, yeah, we come out from prison and like some CEOs from some school.
Yeah, it's like the educational directorate in Norway. Rune went with some of my employees to a meeting with them. And the only thing they could talk about afterwards, the people at the directorate, was Rune. They were like, yeah, what can we do with him? He said a lot of good things.
Suddenly this woman said, can I get 10 minutes of your time in my room, in the office? And okay, we go there. I have this big camera crew with me. She said to me, what can we do? I was like,
yeah.
Wow. What the fuck? This was fucked up experience of my life. Like,
in a good way.
Yeah, in the fucked up way. So this was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So
So what does your life look like now, Rune? Paint a picture.
I'm out 2 years, no criminal offenses. I got a new girl in my life, like I call it wifey, but I have a wife. Now we're waiting our first son together.
She's about to pop.
Everything is settled, like outside, everything is just falling in place. Nobody from the criminal underground reaches out to me no more. Because, you know, I only say things once, and they never want to push the envelope.
Yeah. Most people I meet know who he is and what he has done. But
so with this radio makes changes in a person like me, and the other guys say, hey, even he can change. I'm the last kind of who the fuck you can change. So when I change, a lot of people, like the young guys in the community, when you talk to them, they'll be like inspired, start working at youth clubs, want to give back before they even take something. So it's like, you're a role model for a lot of young guys. Just be yourself and tell them what's right and wrong.
Yeah, and I would say that I would encourage all of you to drop your guard and be more open. It might be very uncomfortable and you might feel some pain, but the rewards for showing who you are enormous. Don't be afraid to break the mold is what we usually say to our guys and women. And I would like to encourage you to start up some sort of creative journalistic project in a prison near you.
Look at this sick lady. She bring gay parade to prison. Who the fuck does that? Who the I told her, stop this, stop, do something else. Because suddenly all emails gonna go against radio. Nobody wants to work in the radio no more. But no, she pushes and like,
it works.
It works. Like she laughed at me. It was like nobody laughed at me before. I was like, what the fuck? And sometimes you need these small changes, you know. And
yeah, I mean, Rune is we do lectures and we somebody's making a film and we do podcasts and everything that. But what we're going to be doing quite a lot is that's why it was so nice to be here with you guys, because we started something called Prison Radio International. I did that a few years ago and it's based in Norway, but we have 15 member countries and 30 countries who want to be members. So we're having a big conference in Norway in June next year where we invite everybody. So
that's good.
Again, I would encourage you to start up creative projects in a prison near you. I know in Denmark has contacted me. A former inmate there wanted to do prison radio in Denmark. We helped somebody start up in Sweden, but I don't think it's running anymore. Finland hasn't called yet, but you know, I'm here. So that's one of the things that I do is travel around and help people start up prison radio or improve. Or sometimes I learn something that we can improve. So yeah. So thank you very much for having us. And yeah.
So she's a small lady with a big impact.
Excellent. I think that sums it up very well. Thank you for the talk. Can I actually I'll stop the recording now and we'll switch on to discussion mode. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.